Alright, hey guys, welcome to Gun Doc Shop. What we have on the bench right here in front of you is the Marlin Camp 9 carbine. And just wanted to quickly go over the disassembly of this, the issues that we found, and kind of how we're going to go about fixing those. So this carbine is pretty easy to take down. You've got these two takedown screws here, and you don't even have to remove them completely, you just loosen them, and then this entire unit will just remove right out of the stock. Trigger assembly, receiver, barrel, all comes out as one piece. Then you just remove the pins from these holes here, and I always, as just good practice, mark them rear, front, left, right, whatever the case may be, because you know, as you go through things, you might forget how things were put together. So just as good practice, try to keep things marked if there's two things that are very similar in appearance, like those pins. So anyways, knock those out with the punch, and then that'll take the trigger assembly right out of there. So let me fix the angle here real quick. There we go. Okay, so, and then the trigger assembly just comes out as a unit, just like that. And you can see in there, you got your hammer and ejector and feed ramp. Okay, need some cleaning. Alright, so essentially the customer initially was just having some trigger problems, which when we first had it, we had function checked and test fired multiple magazines of 9mm and had no issues. Sent it back, and then this past week, while shooting, the action kept getting locked to the rear, and well, the magazine still had ammunition in it, so that's not supposed to happen, obviously. So that's actually not a uncommon issue with these, and the reason is there's a buffer, plastic buffer, that goes right in there, and you can see that it's obviously not there, and it's completely disintegrated into pieces. And that's what all this stuff is here. That's that plastic buffer that's supposed to be in there. And you know, over time, plastic becomes brittle and hard and will crack and break apart like that. So essentially what was happening in a carbine like this, it operates on what's called a blowback system. So there's no, as the gas builds up from the cartridge being fired, it will force that empty casing back onto the bolt face, forcing this rearward. This guide rod and the spring, recoil spring, will compress into its groove, allowing the casing to be extracted and then ejected. As that gets fully compressed, this then moves forward again under its own power from the spring, stripping another round from the magazine and loading that into the chamber. Essentially what happens is, as you then pull the trigger to press the trigger, it will send this hammer forward, striking the firing pin. Send the hammer forward, striking the firing pin, which obviously then strikes the primer, firing another round. So the second problem we ran into as we started to disassemble the trigger assembly here is the hammer strut assembly was completely bent. And the reason is, let me see if I can get you guys to see this here. The reason is this piece right here. This is what's called the hammer strut bridge. And you can see there's a notch on this side, and that notch broke off on this side. So this bridge sits in these holes here, one on each side, and ensures that the hammer strut stays under spring compression, which obviously allows the spring to move forward and back under tension with enough force to strike the firing pin to fire around. So that hammer strut has that little groove, sits in a groove there underneath the hammer, and has a spring. It's spring loaded, and when it's cocked, it'll sit back, and then as you depress the trigger, it'll push the hammer forward. Well, as you can see, that's supposed to be straight. So essentially what happened is the bridge broke, allowing the strut to move all the way rearward, and then obviously under pressure bent, and then losing function of the trigger. So how do we fix it? Well, the buffer, that's pretty simple. We're going to buy a new piece, and honestly with something like this, they can be machined, but typically you only do that if it's really difficult to find these pieces, and in this instance it's not. So for the sake of time and for the sake of money, we are going to purchase a new hammer strut assembly, and after talking to the customer and explaining the problems, we'll get that purchased and on the way, and then we'll get this reassembled, and we'll do a function check and test fire. So yeah, that's what happened, and again, that's interesting. I've not seen that happen before, but as with anything, over time and with use, pieces break. So the buffer, again, is not an uncommon problem with these, using those plastic buffers. That can happen again over time. So, just stressing the importance of maintenance, and then just understanding the cycle of operations and how your weapons work. We can fix these problems that occur as they come up. So anyways, appreciate you guys' support. Check me out on Instagram at gun.kcmo. I've also got a website, gundocshop.com, and we've got some swag on the way, some t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, stickers coming. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, Gundoc, and leave me a thumbs up or some comments or some reviews on my website, and I'll get you guys out some swag. So appreciate your support, and talk to you guys later.